Looking at our local yellow dwarf here at 94 angstroms. We see 0 sunspots, some diffuse coronal holes. Flooding in China is killing people, and the government's incompetence is showing through. Let's look at some more views of our local yellow dwarf. Here's 7 hours and 15 minutes in 171 angstroms. Very low levels of activity here. 10.7 centimeter radio flux has dropped down to 67 and remained there. So back to solar minimum conditions as the solar wind continues to ramp down throughout the day. Let's look at more data and blast through this live stream. Phi angle's down at 67 degrees. We just saw a sudden spike in the negative BZ right there. Majorly negative BZ at about -4. Solar wind density 3.50 protons per cubic centimeter, and again, solar wind speed ramping down from a high of 687 kilometers per second, now down to about 450. Here's the ACE data corroborating that information. We're going to look at some transients here real quick. Going to look at Sagittarius A star, the core of the Milky Way galaxy. Here are the transients from Sagittarius A star. The blue pane in the bottom left is the daily. We're also going to look at the second strongest radio source in the sky, which is the 530 million light-year distant galaxy known as Cygnus A. Otherwise known as 3C405.0. Again, the second strongest radio source in the sky, second only to the sun itself. There are the daily transients coming from 500 million plus light years away, radio galaxy Cygnus A. Next, we're going to look at Cygnus X3, otherwise known as Deneb, the tail of the swan, in the constellation Cygnus, obviously. There are the transients from Cygnus X3. Deneb. Now, Deneb is the other end of the precessional cycle's north pole, allegedly. And there are many ancient structures that are believed to be facing toward Deneb. Let's look at a thing toward the other side of the galaxy here. We're going to look at the Vela pulsar as a reference. It's kind of to the right of the galactic center instead of toward the left where Cygnus is. And there are the transients from the Vela pulsar, which look nothing like the transients from the other side of the galaxy. Now let's move on, because we're not going to get too into the cosmology of this, but we are going to look at cosmic rays, as we did see some fluctuations here. So Apatity just had an uptick here in the past hour or so, as you can see at the end of that graph. Barentsburg had a precipitous downtick in the past 2 days. Let's look at Athens next. There's Athens, an apparent anomaly here around the 6th. Otherwise, nothing too exciting there, although levels are generally high around the world. Just not quite as high as they were back in 2009. So, Mexico City, showing a recent uptick there in cosmic rays. Going to look at Moscow next. There's Moscow, downtick there over the past week or so. And lastly, we'll look at Oulu and 2 monitors in Antarctica. There's Oulu, Finland. Here's DOMC, Antarctica. And here's DOMB Antarctica. And here ends the cosmic ray section. We like to show the data, just in case something happens that we weren't expecting. Here's where the things are located in the solar system. As Earth approaches a Neptunian opposition, there's where things will be in 1 week. A gibbous waning moon. Milky Way galaxy team for the win. Next, we'll look at magnetosphere movies. We try to archive this daily. First, the density. And that's 4 hours of data. By the way, yesterday's video had limited monetization thanks to Google's brilliant algorithms. So we appealed it. And now this morning, we got an email indicating that it is safe for all advertisers now that nobody will be watching the video anymore. So tune into yesterday's video, as it had a very low number of views. And we see some striations here in the magnetosphere once again, kind of unexpected there. This morning, we got an email. And thanks for tuning in, viewers, and thanks to our new subscriber. I'd say subscribers, but there's only one. So we see this shock wave coming in once again, not corroborated by any solar wind data. Check that out. Let's lock it on that moment. There's this shock wave coming in. Looks like straight up magnetism, folks. We're going to be looking at the magnetometer in a minute, so don't go anywhere. And we'll let that play through one more time. That section there. That wave occurring just before 6 o'clock universal time, so around 5:49, 05:49 UTC. Let's look at the ground magnetic perturbations, as we should see something similar, as that should induce more current into the planet. Let's see what happens. Again, 5:49 UTC. And there's that sudden magnetic wave just coming out of nowhere, not corroborated by any solar wind spikes. This University of Michigan geospace model, part of the space weather modeling framework, which you can visit the site, scroll down to the bottom, click details, and you can click on the links and hear all about what the space weather modeling framework is doing, how it works, how the data is modeled. Here's a view from the globe perspective. Again, here's this spike coming in here. Looked like just straight up magnetism. Right there, just before 6 o'clock UTC. Let that play a couple times there. And we see a bunch of magnetism spill into the Pacific Ocean when that happened. South Pole keeps creeping toward India, really. And I'll play that one more time. Sudden spike right there. And there's the image of that. Here it is from the polar view. Excuse me. There's that view. You may note that the South Pole view does look like a Birkeland current. It does look like a spiral, as there are Birkeland currents flowing into and out of the poles at all times, if all goes well. Let's refresh this to see what's going on above my head right now. Make your own star chart at in-the-sky.org. And ask yourself, where were you when Cygnus rose? Please help to support the channel on Patreon. You will see lots of stuff before anybody else, as we do time release a lot of posts, such as yesterday's diatribe about how Google and YouTube is a scam. This will be released to the public later today, and we're going to publish it all over the place after it's out on Patreon. So join the $1 tier. It's the only tier that we have right now, as we're trying to increase our viewership with extreme hardship. If you enjoy the music in the videos, please check out soundclick.com/Golden Cat Productions. That's my record label. And we've been making original music since about the year 2000. Also, we've been making some changes to things like smAshomash.org. So if you want to share our mission with people, check out smAshomash.com/forum/mission. We did do some changes in the main site. As you can see, it's looking a little different now. This is smAshomash.org and .com's home pages. So check that out if you like. A lot more construction coming soon, but if you want to share our mission, smAshomash.com/forum/mission. Again, our Patreon tier is $1. If you don't like Patreon, support us via PayPal. We will include you in a credit crawl if you would like to be listed as a producer. Also, visit the links in the description to find our Hemp Loose and Spaced Out campaign. This Spaced Out campaign specifically formulated for our spaced out viewers. Reduce bodily inflammation. Get yourself off prescription drugs. Do yourself a favor. Get some CBDs. How about water-soluble whole plant tincture? That's a good time. It absorbs nice and fast. And free shipping on orders over $49.95. And the sale is still going on the hemp seed oil suspended whole plant CBD, 30% off the 1,000 milligram formula. KP index is at 1, where it's been steady for the last 6 hours. X-ray flux remains flatlined as we see, no sunspots. Electron flux climbing a little bit, but a little lower than it was. We did see very high electron flux levels, and again, our patrons would have noted that earlier than the rest of you. So again, join the Patreon. $1 is all the current tier is. And we're not going to bait and switch you, but we are going to add a higher cost tier. Here are the aurora forecasts. Australis on the right, Borealis on the left. Nothing too exciting there. Thanks for showing us that we didn't have the ionosphere, the link to this Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology ionosphere map in the description. We have added that to our link library, so that should be in there after the video today. If you're viewing live, give us about 10 minutes after the stream ends, and we will get all of the links where they belong. Here's the last 6 hours of the ionosphere. Looking a little odd there, but let's just get the latest image. It's actually looking pretty charged on the daytime side and pretty discharged on the nighttime side. Here's a GOES magnetometer, and we do see some magnetic perturbations there, additional spikes. Let's play the Gong 2 data. And we don't really see too much going on here. There is a little bit of activity kicking off in between the Earth and stereo A right in this area. You see that little green blob forming. That could be a sunspot or an active region forming. That's something to keep an eye on throughout the day. And when I say ion, the pun is intentional. Follow us on Facebook if you like to wade through terrible software. Facebook.com/smAshomash. Also on Instagram, you may find stuff like my coffee recipe. The coffee I'm drinking right now, in fact. The recipe is coffee, coconut oil, cocoa powder, cayenne pepper, and milk to cool it for immediate drinkage. Try it out, especially if you do intermittent fasting most mornings like I do, as I don't do breakfast. The military practices a ketogenic diet. Perhaps you should try it yourself. Another way to increase your health. If you have any questions about it, send me an email. smAshomash@gmail.com, also linked in the description. Only 476 followers there. Also follow the hashtag #SideViewSunrise, as I noticed some other people have been doing it. Here's one that's not me. Nice. Hashtag #SideViewSunrise. Also on Twitter, we do have an account there. I don't tweet, but you can share our videos that way. Also on Gab, gab.com/smAsho. Check out the sweet thumbnail from yesterday. Again, citing a magnetospheric anomaly there. Mummify Bernie. Come on, Minds crew. Get on Minds. Get on Minds and start trending the hashtag Mummify Bernie. Oh, we got a comment. Now, Mr. Sanders, Senator Sanders, is correct about a lot of the problems. It's just that the solutions that he proposes are often worse than the problems themselves. So we're wondering if we could possibly get Bernie mummified, and so that you could go visit him. Maybe he'll be on display at the Burlington, Vermont Democratic Socialist headquarters. Were you aware that Google is a scam and not a verb? Please stop using it as a verb, but more importantly, please stop using it as a search engine. We ranted about it at the beginning of yesterday's video, so why not subscribe to our channel on YouTube and view this video, which has 84 views, which were all like demonetized entirely. As YouTube pays us nothing, our main support comes from Patreon. And we'll be making more and more videos of different types as time goes on, as we are gaining sophistication. So please like and subscribe, press the notification bell, receive all notifications. You may even know when we're going live as a result. I want to cite a Sky Scholar video. Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille, Professor of Radiology, Ohio State Department of Medicine. Understanding some real physics about the sun. By the way, it is not made of a gas. If you take a classical astronomy class, you're going to be told that the sun is made of a gaseous plasma, the whole thing, all the way through, and that there's a nuclear core in it where there's fusion happening. The only problem is that there's no actual observable evidence about this. Let's play a clip. Take it away, Dr. Robitaille.
Outer space. Around the photosphere, we have the chromosphere, with a calculated density in the standard model of about 10 to the minus 12 grams per centimeter cubed, and a temperature slightly below on the order of the photosphere.
Now, we're talking about things like vacuum pressure at this point, and just watch the video. Is the sun a gas? The standard solar model explained. Please listen to the video. Listen to Robitaille as astrophysics is being rewritten. And if you don't believe me, well, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. I won't try to convince you. I'll just read through the earthquakes and check out this deep one in Japan, happening almost 24 hours ago, a 4.0 at 374 kilometers. Heads up, Japan. That one's on the west coast. Heads up for a larger quake at the surface there. If that one happened at the surface, that would be, well, about a 5.5 because it's so deep. Here's a 5.4 at Indonesia. Here's a 4.5 at Indonesia. That one is at depth. Here's a 4.6 at Indonesia, farther northwest, and that one's at 564 kilometers. Here's another, a 4.6 in Indonesia. That one's nearly at 100 kilometers also. Here's a Chilean quake, 4.7 there, 53 kilometers. 5.2 in Indonesia. So major uptick there in Indonesia, north of Australia. 4.8 out in the Aleutians. We've been seeing an uptick in those quakes in the Aleutian Islands. 5.0 Papua New Guinea. That one's also at depth. Heads up, everybody north of Australia for a larger quake, as the deep quakes are rolling in now. 4.6 at Papua New Guinea. Here's a 4.9. This one just before midnight UT. Southeast of Kamchatka. 4.8 at Argentina, as the deep South American quakes continue, keeping South America, especially western South America, on alert also for a larger quake. One of the deepest quakes we've seen in a long time here, a 4.4 at Fiji at over 600 kilometers. That's a deep quake. Here's a 5.0 at Indonesia, 5.0 at China, 4.5 at the Kuril Island. This is an earthquake uptick, folks. So have a plan if you're in an earthquake-prone area. as solar activity is very low, very low. At least there are no major coronal holes, and for that, we thank you. Here's a 4.5 at Peru, another deep quake South America. 5.3 at Indonesia, 4.6 at the Philippines. 5.0 at Greece, this one occurring like an hour ago. And a 4.4 at extreme depth, again, nearly 600 kilometers there, near Fiji. And let's do a zoom for once. Here's a location of that. Please leave a comment if you're thinking of vacationing in Fiji. If you know what the geopolitical situation is like there now, I know there was some Civil War style strife going on. Let us know if that's ended. I have no idea. Here's the windy.com's pressure map. By the way, windy.com has a fantastic mobile app that could save your bacon. I would note also that there's a major anticyclone over Greenland. Check it out. See that clockwise rotating dry air system? That is a major anticyclone. Let's see if it's heating Greenland up, as global warming has been in the news once again. I guess they're having a bad year because it's not very hot anywhere, which is why there's so much precipitation. Let's see how hot it is in Greenland, as they're talking about it melting every day. Now, we don't see any other channels covering this for some reason. How about the snow depth? Courtesy windy.com. Wow, look at down here. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, folks. It's time for hand wringing. Oh, I'm really worried. There's zero snow there. Oh, what are we going to do? There's zero snow there. Let's go here. 190 inches there. More than 5 meters there. More than 5 meters there. Get the idea? Greenland melting? Seriously? You really think Greenland's melting? If you're an author writing these ridiculous articles, please leave a comment so that our viewers can laugh and laugh and laugh at you. Greenland's not melting, folks. Iceland lives in the Gulf Stream, and there are spots there where there's 180 inches of snow all summer long. Let's move on. Volcano rundown. A new volcano on the list, exploding. Sarachev Peak in the Kurils exploded and produced a 9,000-foot ash plume. Welcome to the list, Sarachev Peak. Please leave a comment if you talk to volcanoes. Abico issued the following report. There was an eruption producing a 12,000-foot ash plume. Please don't fly your ultralight over that. You will end up like John Denver. Mount Aso, a 5,000-foot plume there of volcanic ash. Continuous emissions at Tucono as explosive activity continues, and a 7,000-foot ash plume was produced. Sangay, 22,000-foot ash plume there via some explosive activity. Day in and day out, Revenador's ash has dissipated. Sabancaya, exploding and producing intermittent puffs of volcanic ash to 24,000 feet. And Nevados de Chilean, a special report some kind of geophysical report. No evidence of volcanic ash and satellite imagery. Apparently the report is that no eruptions are expected. Or no volcanic ash plumes expected. I still would hesitate to pole vault over Nevados de Chilean. Here are the jet streams. And we see extreme meridional jet stream flow in both hemispheres. Convective activity controlling a lot of the airflow in the north. We're looking at flight level 25,000 here, folks. Southern hemisphere, extremely meridional jet stream flow, pulling extreme cold air out of Antarctica, etc. And there's the North Stream jet from the North Pole view, starting to form back into a jet stream, perhaps producing a little bit more predictable weather. Not too predictable in China, though, as death toll rises to 30 due to that typhoon. We'll put links to the article after the video is complete. 18 people also missing. Bad times as this guy tries to row a inflatable kayak backwards. Let's hope he's going backwards. Looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, really. Heavy storms over Kansas right now. That very well could be producing damaging winds, hail, etc. You see how much red is on there? Check it out. That is bad times for that area. Jeez, that is one heck of a line of storms. And let's look at it on the water vapor map. Courtesy the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite. Since Doppler radar does not always show you what's going on, check out the Earth spot there. That is the real deal. You can see electromagnetic shock waves coming out of this thing. Yeah. Wow. And check out the Hall current streamers on the edge of the convergence zone there. You see these lines here that are parallel to the mode of motion of the water. This thing doesn't even know which way it wants to rotate. Keep in mind, in the northern hemisphere, low pressure systems rotate counterclockwise. And these convective forces are going to stagnate this a little bit. As you can see, it's moving very slowly. Hopefully everybody's doing okay in Kansas and nobody has ended up in Oz. And we've graduated to the that is an ass and that is a hole in the ground, vulgarity-free, kid-friendly portion of the video. Merriam-Webster defines justice as the maintenance or administration of what is just, especially by the impartial adjustment of conflicting claims or the assignment of merited rewards or punishments. Were you aware that the U.S. has a two-tiered system of justice? If you're rich, you're in a different system than if you're not. Let's talk about precipitation and global warming. Were you aware that all things the same, if the humidity stays the same, and the barometric pressure stays the same, and the temperature drops, you know what happens? Wait for it. Wait for it. What happens is precipitation. If the planet gets hotter, you end up with less precipitation. So if you're experiencing record flooding and snows, that's not caused by a hotter planet, folks. A lot of mainstream nonsense science may try to tell you that it is, but cold is what causes precipitation to happen, and I won't say any more about that because let's go back to justice. The Institute for Justice is cracking down on governments that are cracking down on people just like you. So check it out. It's ij.org. Couldn't be simpler than that. If you've got some sort of slimy, putrid, bottom-feeding, scum-sucking bureaucrats who are biting at your heels, just head here and click Report Abuse. Fill out their little form here. Because they might decide to represent you pro bono to prevent government waste, fraud, and abuse. Speaking of waste, fraud, and abuse, there's a lot of incompetence going on. Jeffrey Epstein, accused sex trafficker, dies in federal custody. Was not on suicide watch, despite the fact that he allegedly tried to kill himself just last week. Now, the cameras were mysteriously turned off when he, quote, hanged, end quote, himself in his cell, when, of course, he should have been wearing a special suit and had no ability to have the materials to hang. It's pretty hard to hang yourself. So, very sketchy. We're wondering if he was killed to be silenced or if he was killed in order to release evidence from his properties to implicate various powerful figures. Sounds like an extortion scheme to me, folks. What do you think? Anyway, thanks for tuning into the Smash stream, Milky Way Galaxy team, for the win. It's about time to get out of here. We're going to cover a bonus before I encourage you to go out and look up at the sky. Realize that astrophysics is being rewritten as we make the video, and we're about to become part of it, folks. I would also note that we just had very high relativistic electron fluence. Now, it's not quite as high as it was last August, or in March. We got extremely high levels also, as you can see in the middle of this graph. And again, if you were a Patreon, you would know this earlier, as when I get alerts, I send them practically right away. Let's look at the 304 angstrom view and then exit stage north. Actually, I'm going to go stage east. And here's the 304 angstroms view. This is about 7 hours of the solar activity. We do see a large filament here in the northwest. Otherwise, very low levels of solar activity. And thanks again for tuning in, folks. It's about that time. Remember, stare at the sun. And don't drive. It's Sunday. Don't drive. And if I'm behind you and you're driving below the speed limit, take your car, put it in a parking lot, cut your driver's license in half, lock the